Michelle.
And Mr. E.
We're here for our fourth, can you believe it, fourth edition of Fooventures. We are here today with the fabulous board members of our Friends of Oatland Island group, and hopefully you're a member of Foo. Eric, tell us a little bit about Foo.
So Foo is an organization that supports Oatland. Really important to Oatland because they do a lot of behind the scenes things and don't get a lot of recognition. So we really want you to come on their Facebook page and follow as much as you can and interact with them, because they're going to give you really good content during this time where you can't be on site. Friends of Oatland Island also functions as behind the scenes, and they do a lot of volunteer work with all of our special events and some of our small classes that we do for you guys. So be checking their page, because they're going to be listing a lot of our upcoming events once all this craziness gets done with.
Yes, and you too could be a member of Foo. So even though you're not coming to visit us on site, we will be back. You will come back, and we would appreciate if you became a member of the Friends of Oatland Island. So we started off with our little teaser. Remember, this is our fourth edition. So our newest animal of the day is in the bag. Mr. E is going to reveal, I bet you probably already know, those of you that are savvy, know what animal we are reviewing today, learning about. Type it in if you know. Oh, there it is.
Little uncooperative. That's okay though. We'll get him unwound here in a little bit.
So you might be wondering, why did we put this animal in a sack? Well, if you are a herpetologist, herpetology is the study of amphibians and reptiles, then a sack is one of your tools of the trade. You're going to go out in the field with a sack, and you're going to put the animal in the sack. It gives them a little bit of calmness, you know, out of sight, out of mind. Ah, there they are. They're gone. And then it makes them feel a little bit calmer, and they don't escape. So, well, Mr. E, tell us about the animal that you just pulled out of the sack.
So this is a yellow rat snake, and rat snakes are really common throughout the southeast. We have a couple different types. Here in the coastal plain of Georgia, so around here in Chatham County, our most common rat snake is going to be the yellow rat snake. They're very much an arboreal species, so they're very good climber, and they'll go up in trees to find their prey. This snake is a yellow rat snake, but we also have gray rat snakes, black rat snakes, red rat snakes, and Everglades, Texas rat snakes. But in Georgia, we basically have 4 species. And those 4 species look very similar besides coloration and size. So the largest one that we have is our black rat snake. That's more in middle Georgia up into northern Georgia. And then yellow rat snakes are kind of the second largest, and then grays and our corn snakes kind of fall in there. The red rat snakes and corn snakes are 2 different common names for the same species. Yeah, so these guys are rat snakes. So what do they eat, Michelle?
Well, they have a very wide variety of diet. Despite their name being a rat snake, they will eat anything from birds, amphibians, reptiles, and yeah, we got some guesses out there for a snake. Joy and Isabella, good job. And Nasser and Rami, hello. Brooke and Grayson, checking in again. And Mom and Dad.
I think that's
friends.
Probably my mom and dad.
Yeah, it's definitely not my mom and dad. My dad doesn't like technology. Anyway, so we have some, keep your questions coming out. We're going to just try to keep live answering your questions as they come in. And so we'll come back to the diet, but just remember the name rat snake does come because they are really good at hunting rats down. So Brooke, hi Brooke, how are you?
Brooke says, how do you know if it's a boy or a girl, Michelle?
Well, there is a way that you can look at the tail and from the cloaca. Now the cloaca, it's also called a vent, is the opening where everything happens. And from that opening to the tip of the tail, there's going to be 2 transitions. It's either going to be long and gradual, or it's going to be kind of short and abrupt. Now, if you just have one snake in your hand, it might be hard to tell. But if you had a male and a female, you could see the differences. So this is Prius, and he is a male, and he has a long and gradual, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, long and gradual tail. So the vent is right here, and this is the profile. So males are long and gradual, and females will be kind of bumpy and then shorter tail. But that, like I said, if you don't have 2 snakes in your hands to compare it to, you might not know. But a veterinarian or an expert hepatologist would go inside and probe around, because that's where their parts are, inside. Josh, Isabella, hi. Lucy and Bella, hello. Thanks for joining us today. We miss you guys. Thanks for joining us today on our 4th adventure. Megan wants to know, why is it called a rat snake?
So their primary source of food is rats or rodents. So farmers, early settlers might have seen them coming in contact with them when they were around mice nests or rat nests. And that's because that's going to be an easy food item for them to find, and they're going to seek those out with their tongue and grab those and constrict them. These guys are constrictors. Rat snakes, because their primary food is rat, but also really wide diet, especially yellow rat snakes, which goes up in trees. Not a lot of tree-dwelling rats, except for maybe like squirrels, right? So lots of rodents up there in that way, maybe flying squirrels as well. But then also bird eggs and birds, very common for these guys to seek out nests of birds and mammals.
Charlotte, it's me not touching my hand. I miss you. Love you too. Isabella wants to know, does it bite?
Anything with a mouth can bite. I can bite, you can bite, Michelle can bite. Snakes can most definitely bite. But it's important to remember that a snake's defense doesn't come from its hands or its feet. It's like we get scared and throw up our hands, or we might even like kick out if we get scared of something. They don't have that ability, so their first reaction is going to be to run. If they're cornered, then they might strike out with you with their head and use their mouth in that way. That's only for defense, and it's because you're a big scary animal. Most of the time they're going to try to run away. So.
Yes, so we talked a little bit about herpetologists, and Audrey wants maybe to be a herpetologist because she thinks they're super cool. But a herpetologist is typically going to study snakes and reptiles, and you're going to probably work at the university or a zoo or a museum or somewhere like that. We're going to say hi to Lily Kate, and Harrison wants us to move closer so that they can get a good look at the snake. Donna wants to know, does it sleep during the day and the night?
Missy,
or the
am I in
night?
focus?
Yes, both. But I would say that depending on the season, if it's wintertime, they might come out in the day. Do you know why? Not like hunting. They might come out of their little hibernacula just to warm up in the sun. And in the summertime, when it's super duper hot out, they might become more active at night, hunting at night. So it's a good question. And let's see, Marcia, he has beautiful markings. Eric, tell us about those strange markings on this yellow rat snake.
Yeah, so rat snakes are all about camouflage. And yellow rat snakes, because they're going vertically up in places, they have these vertical stripes and blotching to break up their shape. In the animal world, it's all about breaking up your shape because a predator is looking for your general outline. And you guys probably know this too. When you're going out and grabbing for things, you're going to grab things that seem familiar to you. So if you put a bunch of apples and oranges in a bag and you say grab the apple, you're going to know that apple has a different shape than the orange does. And so when you have a snake that has a common shape, predator's going to say, oh, I'm going to grab that shape. But when you have stripes and blotching that breaks up your shapes unless you blend in, then it's harder for them to be found and grabbed.
Yeah. All right, we've got lots of really good questions coming in. Ashley wants to know, how long do they get?
Ooh.
So that's a good question.
Yes, so this snake is probably, what, 5.5, 6 feet long?
I don't know, let's see if he's 6
Maybe
feet
longer.
safe. He probably is getting close to 6 feet.
Yeah.
That would be probably the length that they would get to.
Yeah, he's a full-grown adult.
Ashley and Maddie, hello. Abigail and Owen, hi. Hi, Courtney.
Snakes in most herps. I was going to say herpetiles.
Herpetiles.
Herpetiles. Most herps have indeterminate growth, though, so they will add length to their body the whole rest of their life. So a really old snake is a really big snake. So in Georgia, I think the record for our rat snakes is our black rat snakes, and he was close to 10 feet long. So pretty big snake.
All right, so we're getting so many good questions. Zachary wants to know, how much pounds per square inch pressure can a snake exert on its prey? I don't know the answer. Mystery, do you know?
Pounds per square inch is like squeezing strength, right? So if you think about squeezing strength, not with their mouth, but with their coils, when they wrap around, they might be able to squeeze as strong as a human or a little bit stronger depending on the size of the snake, but all of the snakes in Georgia, you'll easily be able to pull them off their body if they decided to constrict you. That wouldn't be a prey reason, that would be often because you are warm. They'll wrap around you because they're trying to absorb your temperature. They want your heat.
All right, we got so many good questions, and if you see us looking side to side, it's because we're reading all the questions that are coming up. Let's see, Hannah wants to know, where do they live?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question.
The yellow rat snakes on the coastal plain of Georgia, so all of our coastal counties have yellow rat snakes, and they'll move kind of throughout the coastal plain into the Piedmont, but won't go much farther than that. And they are very, very much going to be underneath things, hiding, and then when they're seeking out food, they're going to go up. So look on tree branches for them climbing up trees. You'll find them a lot.
All right, Lincoln. Lincoln wants to know, does Oatland Island Wildlife Center have venomous snakes? So this is kind of an interesting fact. In the 44 years that Oatland Island has been in existence, I think there's only been one venomous snake found on the property, and it was found on the doorsteps of our center, and that was a long time ago. So we, Mr. E, he's always out there thrashing through the woods and looking and finding things and getting all kinds of ticks and stuff like that too. But he has never found a venomous snake, have you, on the property?
Never found a venomous snake.
But if you just go over to Whitmarsh Island Preserve, where you can ride your bike around, there are venomous snakes there. So it's probably a matter of time before they get over here.
Yeah.
They could be here, but haven't seen one yet.
Another common name Kelly mentions is the chicken snake. So anyone want to guess why they're also called the chicken snake? May have to do with their prey.
Because they act like chickens.
Yeah, they go.
No, that's not why. Jess Westfall!
How heavy is he? I think is the one. This snake's probably like what, 3.5, 4 pounds.
I don't think we have that stat right now on him, but yeah, he's definitely not heavy as a indigo snake.
Yeah, he's probably
heavy. Okay, let's see.
Yeah,
heavy.
4.5.
Okay.
5 pounds.
Nikki wants to know, how can you know their strike distance?
Yeah, so a snake can strike about 2/3 their body length at the utmost. So that means if a snake is coiled up in that S position, when they straighten out all their muscles and they flex those muscles out, they can extend their body in a straight line about 2/3 their body length. So if you are in front of this, 5.5, 6 foot snake, you're going to want to stay at least 3.5 feet, 4 feet away. It's very, very important to remember that a snake is only really going to strike at you if it feels threatened, if you're getting close to it. The people that get bit by snakes are people that come close to snakes and interact with snakes, like me. Why do they flick their tongues? Oh yeah, they're smelling. So I'm going to put him back in because he might be a prey item of our next snake. We don't want any undue interactions, but they flick their tongues to smell. So that interaction you're seeing with the tongue going in and out is basically them figuring out where they're at in the world. They have okay eyesight. It's like a little bit poorer than a human's comparatively, but they have amazing sense of smell. And because they have a forked tongue, they have what's called directional smelling. When I say directional smelling, I mean they can figure out how or where an item is that might be scared of, like a predator, or where an item they might want to seek out, like a prey item, like a rat or another snake. So these guys are really, really, really good at finding prey and staying away from predators by their directional smelling. So more scent particles on the right side, to move away from that. More particles on the left side with a prey item, to move towards it. So that forked tongue is really, really cool for directional smell.
All right, I didn't even ask a question, but there's already answers coming in because I was going to ask what this next snake is. And Bethany says, it's the indigo snake. The eastern indigo snake. What a fine, fantastic creature this is. It is on the threatened list. Populations are declining, sadly. Mostly in the old days, 70s, it was from the pet trade and habitat destruction. But now it's really, a lot of it is habitat destruction because we are just bisecting their property, their home ranges with roads and shopping plazas and centers and logging in the forests. So it's kind of a sad situation. But yeah, the eastern indigo snake is a really specialist snake. Now, I like to tell kids, and I teach them about being picky. If you're a picky person, in nature, picky animals don't usually do so well. And this animal has very specific habitat needs and very specific co-resident. It needs to live with an animal. Do you know what animal? Of course you do. Asking our friends out there in Fooventures world. Anybody tell us what animal they need, they depend on. They have to have it around to survive. And then we'll come back to you, but we're going to answer some of these questions. Bethany, how do you know if they're venomous? Okay. Well, there are lots of ways that you can tell, but there's mimicry, copycats out there. So you got to be really careful about copycats. This animal is very awkward to hold. So a lot of animals get a bad reputation because of the venomous snakes. A lot of snakes do. We're going to do the belt wrap so that he can hold on to me a little bit better.
Oh, we got a right answer already.
Right.
Gopher Tortoise.
Yes. Lucy and Abigail.
Lucy and Abigail, you're so
Yay.
smart.
Good job. So venomous snakes have characteristics that can be broken. Rules in nature can be broken. So you have to remember there's always exceptions. But typically speaking, venomous snakes have a slit eyeball, kind of like cat eye, but there are exceptions, okay? They typically have a big diamond-shaped head, a big jawbone, big jaw muscles. But there's animals like the hognose, which we'll see later, that can mimic and pretend and puff their head out to make it look bigger. One safe way is if you find the shed of a snake, you can look at the scales on the tail. I'm going to come closer so you can see this. But if you look at the belly scales, they go down the belly one at a time, and then you get to what's called the cloaca, the vent right here, and then the tails will split in two. Can you see that on the screen? If they split in two, think of the word non-venomous. 2 scales down the tail. 2 words, non-venomous. Venomous has 1 scale all the way down the tail, all the way to the tip of the tail. That's a safe way because you're not looking in someone's face. You're not getting down close. You're giving yourself distance. Okay, is this Bella or Indy?
This is
Indy? This is Indy. Yeah, Indy. Indy's a little smaller than Bella. Bella's a little bit bigger. We do have some fun facts. Bella was hatched on August 9th, 2008.
Yeah, 12 years old.
Yeah, and Indy was hatched on August 11th, 2008.
Yeah.
And they came from the University of Minnesota. A man was doing research there, genetic research on indigo snakes. And that's where we got them from. And you do have to have a permit to have them. You have to have permission to have snakes. You can't have them as pets. I'm sorry if you want them. You can get certain ones from pet trades. But here in Georgia, we're really protective of our wildlife. And that's a really good thing. Got to be excited about that. All right. So, did I answer the venomous thing? We'll come back to that enough. There's probably other things you can do. There's all kinds of colorations and patterns. What I tell people is just give every snake space because every snake is afraid of us. We're big. We're a big, scary animal. So just give them space and you won't have to worry if it's venomous or non-venomous. Miss Melissa, how many times have you been bitten? How many times have you been bitten? How many times have you been bitten? Eric?
I don't know anymore.
I've only been bitten like twice.
Yeah, if you handle wild snakes, and if you feel confident in your idea of a wild snake, you could pick a wild snake up and handle it with the knowledge that you're going to be bit. It's just a matter of time. So I choose to do that. It's something that I enjoy doing. It's something that I learned a lot about and studied, and also got knowledge from people that were very informed in the field before I ever picked up a snake. So you get bit by snakes a lot, and if you're going to pick up wild snakes. Our snakes at Oatland Island are very, very calm. They're very habituated to humans, so they're not going to be big biters. We don't really get bit by any of our snakes here, and we would never bring a snake to a program that we're worried about being a bitey snake. We would never do that to our classes. Okay, so did someone tell me to try? Oh, I thought someone wrote in to tie my shoelace for the whole trip. Permit for non-native snakes? No. You can have ball python. You can have other non-native snakes. Yeah, Georgia did adopt a rule recently that you can't have some of the snakes that are causing big problems in Florida, though. So our larger snakes, like our Burmese python, which we have a shed of, which we'll show you, and then some of our anacondas as well, are starting to be regulated in Georgia, so we don't have that problem here as Georgia warms up a little bit. Why is Indy longer? Indy's a little bit longer basically because Indy chose to eat more food than Bella did.
I thought Bella was longer.
Did I say it the wrong way?
Yeah. Indy is actually, I think, smaller than Bella.
Okay, so we have the reverse of what it would be in the wild.
But maybe she's just whiter. I haven't measured.
That could be too.
But we have their weights.
We definitely know that their weights are different.
Yeah, Bella weighs 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And Indy here weighs 8.5 pounds.
Yeah.
All right, so I have explain why they need the gopher tortoise.
Oh, Gopher's polyphemus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so gopher tortoises are really, really important because they're what's called a keystone species. So if you guys can see the archway back here from our fireplace, this stone right here is called the keystone. You might guess if I pulled this stone out, the archway would actually crumble. And a keystone species is that same way in the ecosystem. If you pull it out of the ecosystem crumbles. And gopher tortoises are important because of their amazing burrows they make. So these very, very large, very, very deep and long burrows can be homes for many, many different species of animals. Up to 350 species of animals have been found using their burrows as homes or as shelter during fires because they're in a habitat that's fire adapted, that wiregrass longleaf pine habitat. So gopher tortoises provide a shelter for these animals where they can regulate their body temperature really easily. So snakes are ectothermic, meaning they're cold-blooded. They have to rely on their temperature from the outside. So our snakes are, I'm trying to look real close, I think like 72 degrees because I'm looking at the thermostat in the far side of the room, and that's how warm the room is, so that's how warm the snakes are. So if you imagine a burrow, if you get deep enough burrow, it's nice and warm during the winter, it's nice and cool during the summer, and it maintains their body temperature. So they use it as a hideout, and they're very, very, very important.
Good job, Courtney. Courtney says to dig tunnels. Awesome. So I switched because Indy's a lot to hold.
Wiggly.
He's a ground-dwelling snake, and he doesn't like to be up in the air. So when you pick him up in the air, it's super awkward for him. So I had to put him down. He's pretty heavy too. Does he like Miss M or Mr. E better? Who's he? Oh, is the indigo snake? Me?
Yeah, of course.
But Bella might like Eric better.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here is our next species. Type in your answers.
Yeah, I'd like to get a guess on this because people really think this is a venomous snake when it's not. We would not be holding a venomous snake, obviously. Amelia asked, why do their eyes turn white when they shed? This really cool adaptation they have is that eye scale. So they have a scale that goes over top of their eye, and when they shed, they actually get a little bit of a layer underneath this that's filled with a liquid, and that liquid helps their skin pop away from their underlying new skin, and then when they shed, it'll peel off. So what you're seeing when their eye turns white is actually their old eye scale covering their eye. They don't have eyelids, that's protection for their eye.
Donna, you got it. You guessed it right. This is the eastern hognose, not the southern hognose. This is the eastern hognose snake. This is one of my favorite snakes. Such a copycat so many of the venomous traits. The first thing I did when I grabbed, his name is Snape, those of you like Harry Potter, when I pulled him out of the sack, he hissed. His first thing he'll do is hiss. It's kind of a deterrent to get me to be afraid of him and go away. And then he puffs his head up. He'll spread his neck and just flatten his head, and it'll look really big and shovel-like and very, very scary and venomous. And then I also just kind of started looking at this recently. If you look at his tail, he's got these little polka dots down his tail. See the polka dots? Can you see that? Yeah, those look like rattles. So he'll sit on the grass or the leaves litter, and he'll shake his tail, and he'll pretend to have a rattle. So many, poor guy gets misunderstood as a copperhead or another venomous snake often, and people kill them because of that. Now, can we talk about killing snakes? There is no need to kill a snake. You should never, ever feel like you have to kill a snake to protect anybody. Venomous snakes in nature ecosystems are so good at what they do that there's mimicry out there. They're serving needs for the ecosystem. They're basically minimizing your exposure to mammalian small mammals, which carry diseases. We know about this, right? So if you have a snake around your yard, if you get them in your house, if they come into your garage or whatever, there are methods to get them out without having to kill them. Snakes don't want to be around you. We're scary. We are big, scary monsters reaching down to get them. They're going to defend themselves. So you just got to give them their space and let them push them out. Never corner a snake. Snake corner is going to be a frightened snake. Thank you, everybody, for pressing the heart button.
Yeah, we love it.
We love snakes. They're really nothing. I mean, there is a fear. It's called a phidiophobia.
Yeah.
My dad is a phidiophobic. You can be ophidiophobic, but you still shouldn't have to kill a snake.
Yeah, fear when it leads to hate is just a horrible thing. We can be afraid of things. Being fearful of things helps keep us safe, right? Mm-hmm. It's an important part of humans, being a human. But when that fear turns into hate or disgust, that's when things get really bad. Especially like Michelle said. There was a case out in the West Coast about these really crazy cases of hantavirus, and they didn't know why they were happening. Hantavirus is a horrible virus, very deadly, that was coming into the human population. No one knew why. And then they've traced it back to the mice, and they traced the mice population going skyrocketing because they were killing all the rattlesnakes. And so it's really important. When we start messing with nature, nature starts messing with us. So it's very important that we leave that balance in there and that we protect our wildlife.
Yeah. So really good question. Katie wants to know, do we let guests hold the snakes? We do not. And it's for protection of the snake mostly because in the past we were a little bit looser with our restrictions, and people held them, and one time I've been told somebody freaked out and threw a snake across the room. So we have to have our hands on the snake at all times. We do allow you to touch with a 2-finger touch. And a lot of that's because they're very delicate animals and they have ribs all the way down their body, and a pinch or squeeze or a grab can really hurt them. So we just ask that if you do touch them at our center, you just feel the finger or 2 fingers. It's all you need to get a good feeling of what they feel like.
Yeah. If you want to get a reaction from a snake, you grab a snake. Because a grab is like you're using a mouth on them. They don't understand what hands are. They don't have hands. So if their body comes in circle, that's like they're getting grabbed by a predator. So you can see us, we're being very careful not to put pressure on the snake. We're using our hands like tree branches to support them. With our larger snakes, we were picking their body up and setting them against our body to support them. Very important that we keep that support.
Okay. We have one more snake, Eric, with the Hognose Snake. While he's getting the last snake out, because we have another minute, I just want to tell you really quickly, this snake has a special diet as well, and his head is shaped like a shovel. And does anybody know why out there? Why do they have a shovel-shaped head? It's a snout. That's why they call them a hognose. What are they digging for in the dirt? Anybody know? And when this prey animal gets frightened, it puffs up really big, and they have hind fangs in their mouth for popping them. Their hind fangs are called toad poppers. So if you guess toads, you're right, this is a toad-eating snake. That's one of the cool facts I had to share with you. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for joining us. All right, Eric is going to show us our last snake of the day. And
MB, yeah, the biggest snake at Oatland. I'm almost sure that it is Bella, but Indy may eventually get larger than Bella because male snakes typically get larger than females. At least here they do. Sometimes that's different, and it's definitely different when the females are gravid or full of eggs. So, you got a guess on this snake?
This is one of my other favorite. They're all my favorite. Okay, and then we had a Eden. Is it my friend Eden from South Carolina? She wants to know, does South Carolina protect their wildlife? Not as well as Georgia. You can have crazy animals in South Carolina, but Georgia won't let you. But they do have they do a lot of things really well. You just have to look it up. King Lucy. Lucy! She knows.
Yeah.
The king snake. Dun, 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 dun. This is King Arthur.
Yeah.
The king of all snakes.
And there's many variations of king snakes. We have scarlet king snakes. We have California king snakes. We've got speckled king snakes. And they're very cool snakes. Again, that cool coloration, that pattern to camouflage. They're one of my favorite snakes as well. They're very under the ground and fossorial almost, so they're really deep underneath the things. If you're rolling over stumps or doing garden works, you might flip one of these up. They are almost all the time going to be another snake eater or another reptile eater. They're going to seek out maybe sometimes eggs, or maybe they're going to every once in a while grab a mammal, but most of the time they're eating other reptiles. So that's why we call them the king of the snakes, because you see lots of photos of them eating other snakes.
We didn't talk about the indigo snake, too.
Oh my gosh. Look, you should just start with your three ways, and then you can talk about it that way.
The 3 ways.
3 ways of.
There's 3 ways that you kill a prey if you're a snake. 3 different ways. And so you probably know, you can guess, type them down real quick. Name 1, 2, 3. So we have, this animal is a...
I'm doing it to my hand a little bit.
Constrictor. Now the word constrictor is in the name boa constrictor, but that's just that's his lifestyle, how he catches his food. He's a constrictor. So the king snake is a constrictor, and he can wrap his body, his flexibility. When I was holding Indy, you notice that he doesn't really wrap very well. I had to give him a wide berth. That's me, wide berth, to be able to wrap around. And yes, Courtney, that's right, constrictor. So Indy does it differently. Who knows what Indy does to catch his food, kill his food? It's the best.
You got a ratter out there.
He is we call it a thrasher, and he just grabs the prey by the head and tries to get it and overpower it. And sometimes there's a little bit of thrashing going around, and he eats it alive, whole and alive. So he doesn't wrap. So when I was holding him, it was awkward. He's not gonna I'm gonna hold on to you with my very yoga body. He doesn't have a yoga body. He's like me, not very flexible. And then the third one, the one that gives all the snakes fear, is the venomous snakes. You got it. Venom's the best, I would say. If you're a snake, be venomous, because you can tell your prey and your predators, don't mess with me, right? And they are really good at it. Rattlesnakes can take one prey animal, give it a little bite, and then the animal runs home, and they follow it all the way, because they're vipers, pit vipers. And the pit vipers can pick up the heat scent that they left behind, so they can go find a whole family from just one bite. It's pretty awesome. So you guys are asking good questions.
And they enjoy that buffet, right? And then when's the next time that they eat?
Maybe not for a month. It depends on the weather, depends on the situation. So they fill up when they can. They go to the buffet. Faustina, do the snakes make appearances at birthday parties? Yes, they do. You can have a snake at your birthday party. Absolutely.
You can have 3 different snakes at your birthday party.
You could choose 3 different snakes. We would love it. It's easy. All right, Ashley wants to know, how big do king snakes get? I have the stats right here. Okay.
Cheat sheet.
Okay, I got a cheat sheet. So their range, the max, how heavy they get, could be anywhere from 48 to 80 ounces. Now that's in ounces. You're gonna do some mental math. Write these numbers down.
Ooh, yeah.
You're gonna convert ounces to pounds. A pint's a pound the world around. 16 ounces to a pound. Okay, figure that out. And the average is about 64 ounces. Well, you could do that one.
Yeah. That one's pretty easy.
Okay. And then they range in length from 3 inches to 60 inches. That's a range. Average is 50 to 51 inches.
5 feet?
Not as long as an indigo snake. Yeah, about.
Wow.
Yeah. Melissa, king snakes and indigo snakes, are they immune to venom?
Yeah.
Yeah. At least the venomous snakes that are here in this country. Not really sure about if you put a sea snake in with a indigo snake, if they would survive the bite or not. But the ones that they've been evolving with, they have definitely evolved a protein that is immune to the venom of the venomous snakes. Excellent questions. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
I made a model, so I want to show it off.
Okay, Eric made a model, and I have some books and some crafts that you can make.
So maybe do your books and then I'll do the model.
Okay. No, we do the model.
Okay.
Okay. Eric wanted to show you. He really did work hard this morning on this.
I was so like interested in doing my crafting this morning. So
give me that.
So this is a model that I made to show you about snakes consuming their prey. So what's really interesting about snakes is that snakes, unlike humans, have a hinge in their jaw that we don't have. So when we think about our hinge jaw, it's up and down that way, and snakes have that hinge. But everyone says they unhinge their jaw, and everyone thinks that this joint back here is what moves, and that's not true. It's actually this joint in the front. They have this piece of cartilage in the front, a ligament that stretches, and they can actually increase the amount of size of prey that they can eat by moving that bottom jaw that way. So it's really, really cool. If we were a snake, we could eat something that was probably the size of like a basketball by kind of stretching out our jaw and consuming that. We think about snakes eating prey. The largest snakes can eat things that are as large as the width of their body and about a third of their body length, maybe 2/3 their body length if they're really long and skinny like another snake. So snakes can eat large prey. There are no man-eating snakes in the state of Georgia. Maybe don't go to the Everglades if you're worried about getting eaten by a snake, right? Snakes are very, 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 very much a docile animal that wants to leave you, a big scary predator, alone. So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to link some resources on our page. Just got to make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow us to get all the updates, to get the heads up of what's coming up next. We are going to post things like, this is an excellent book called Snakes of the Southeast. There are about 51 different species of snake in Georgia. So if you want to learn all about them, it gives you really good natural history, and it's native to our area, local to our area.
And this is a little smaller pamphlet that's basically the same thing that can be kind of in your backpack. If you're out looking for snakes, you can carry this around with you. This is from Cooperative Extension, UGA, Savannah River Ecology Lab. So check out their website. They're great for finding snakes. And I love this saying on the back. Missy, let me know if I'm getting it on the screen.
Great model, Eric. Mama says. Your mama says good model.
Thanks, Mama.
School teacher. She knows good when she sees it. And if you're at home with lots of toilet paper tubes, you can make a toilet paper craft like this snake really easily. And you can talk about patterns and camouflage with your child. We did this in Toddler Tuesday, so a lot of you have already made my little snake craft. And he can coil up on my arm just like he was, like our king snake was. There's all kinds. We'll post resources, but you have to follow us. Tell your friends. Join us. We're going to be back on Friday.
Yep.
Friday, right? And we want to know what your suggestions are. What animals would you like to learn about? What animals do you want to see here at Oatland Island? Ashley, thank you for joining us.
You are very welcome, guys. We're so happy to do this for you.
Yeah, we miss you. We're 6 feet safe. But we are trying to bring you Oatland live, so come as much as you can. Tell your friends. If you miss it, if you have something on, I know you're homeschooling, some of you, if you miss it, just watch them later because they'll be posted.